So welcome to tonight's interview where we get to know someone who fills a key role in the Bulgarian Diocese of Toledo, the Orthodox Church in America. And tonight I'm pleased to be talking with Father Marty Watt of Holy Transfiguration Mission in Ames, Iowa. Welcome, Father Marty.
Hi, Father Michael. How are you?
I'm good. I want to start out, first of all, with want to hear a little bit about you and where you were born, raised, your religious background that either led up to Orthodoxy or if you're a lifelong Orthodox. So give us a few minutes of that, if you would.
Sure. I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, and raised primarily in West Tennessee, outside of Memphis, in between Memphis and Nashville. Spent a little time in Northwest Georgia as a kid, but I ended up graduating from high school in West Tennessee, went to college in Middle Tennessee, just south of Nashville, and met my wife while I was in high school, or actually junior high school. After I went to college, I majored in accounting, got a job, worked for a couple of accounting firms for a few years, and then went into healthcare, which was a big industry in Nashville. Went to work for Hospital Corporation of America and some of the other related companies there. Wife and I got married about a year after I graduated college. Religious history, I was, I'm one of those that has been, I've been baptized 3 times. So hopefully one of them took, I think. But I was christened in the Methodist Church as a baby. And then also in the Methodist Church, when I was about 12 or 13 years old, we went through confirmation class, and I had the option to be rebaptized at that point, to sort of own my own baptism, and I accepted that opportunity. But then about a year or two after that, my dad, who grew up Baptist, wanted us to go to the Baptist church. And so he and my mom and my whole family started going to the Baptist church, and I was, because they didn't like the fact that I wasn't immersed, they immersed me at that point. And so that was really the extent of my religious history up through probably high school. And then when I went to college, like a lot of college folks do, I tended to drift away a little bit, at least from the institutional church. I don't think I ever lost faith, but drifted away from the church for a while. And then, as I mentioned, started working, got married, got involved with life, had a child, ended up in living up in South Florida for a couple of years. And that, for a kid from Tennessee, particularly in rural Tennessee, to go to Fort Lauderdale, Florida for a couple of years was a case of culture shock. So I ended up at that point, and I'm in my late 20s, I guess, at this point. The only thing that was familiar to us in South Florida was, well, we can go to church again. We know what that's like. And so we went to church with all good intentions of correcting all the ills that we had found in our previous church experiences. That went as one might expect, did not go well. But during that time, though, it caused me to really think about what I was doing in church. Why was I there? What was the purpose? What was the meaning of it? And I took that experience and really, I categorized it as, I didn't know, first of all, what do I do after I'm saved? Because that was the emphasis and the be-all, end-all of the Baptist evangelical type tradition. So what comes after that? And the only thing they had to offer was, well, read your Bible and pray a little bit and tell everybody how good it is. And that was really the essence of it. And then the other thing was, I didn't feel like that attending church, the services themselves, they were okay. it was fun. It was an experience. This was in the days, in the early 90s. So it was very much before I think the modern worship of the evangelical world began to take shape. So it was still kind of traditional, three hymns, read the Bible, and have a sermon for 45 minutes.
Traditional by comparison.
Yeah, by comparison, yeah, very,
Mhm.
very by comparison traditional. And then, to come back with, I just had my doubts that somehow that didn't resonate with me as worship. And I didn't know the word at the time, but what I wanted was something more liturgical, something more reverent, something more that I felt like I was not the object that was somebody was trying to convince me of something. I wasn't the person being sold, as it were. Um, Nor did I really want to think that I was there just to hear this person on the stage speak to me. I was not to attend a lecture. That was not worship. Um, so at that point, I began exploring other faith traditions, and I have to back up a little bit. I'd also been through the Baptist churches, uh, the different controversies that they may have had about the church splits that they may be going through. They would say moderate and conservative. I would now, in hindsight, say conservative and extra conservative. But they had been through kind of a nasty name calling kind of breakup. Not really a breakup, but sort of I don't know what they call it. A lot of people left. We'll put it that way. Um, and this was in mainline Southern Baptist, so the Southern Baptist Convention. So I knew that I wanted to avoid that at all possible, and that ruled out a couple of groups that we looked at. My wife and I both looked at the time, which was namely, this was when the Lutherans were going through the Missouri Synod, Wisconsin Synod, ELCA, all of their splits.
My family was right in the middle of the ELCA split. So my
Right.
parents basically went through all that too.
Yeah. And that was just something that I couldn't deal with, for lack of a better term. It didn't, at that point, it didn't matter really what the faith was. It was if you were going through some kind of a split, I wasn't interested. And really, and then we looked at the Episcopal Church, again, trying to stick more with a liturgical tradition. But at that time, that was when probably their bishop, John Shelby Spong, was at his zenith. And, so here was this bishop out and writing books and going on television and all this other stuff, basically denying that Jesus existed, or at least saying it didn't matter whether he really existed or not. And I thought, well, that it kind of did matter to me. So that left us with Catholicism. And little side journey, I was in the internet. My brother, this was before the days of the internet. My brother was in the Navy and lost his hearing while he was in the Navy, so he became deaf and medically retired. But the way we kept in touch, we had the deaf communication TTY devices, but we would stay in touch via Genie, which was the online service for the General Electric Information Service and Information Network, I guess, Genie. And so we stayed in touch that way, but then they also had these discussion roundtables, they called it. And one of them was on religion and philosophy. I guess today we would refer to them as chat rooms, although that kind of has a negative connotation in the modern internet world. Back then it was quite innocuous and very, very serene place to be, actually. And one of the groups off of this group, because I was also interested in how does faith affect someone's daily life? And so in looking at this, I ran across this group that said Eastern Orthodoxy. And I was like, I haven't heard of that. which at that time not many people had. This was in the 91, 92 timeframe. And so I got involved with that group, and there were a total of 5 people on that round table. All of them were lay people. And since then, sadly, 3 or 4 of them have reposed. But I'm still good friends with 2 or 3 of the people that were on that initial contact that I had. And so they were the ones who basically said, come and see. And so we ended up moving back to Tennessee. And I went to my first liturgy in Franklin, Tennessee, in the Antiochian Archdiocese. It was probably early 1992. And then I was like, wow, this is just amazing. And from that experience, my wife and I decided to dig more, see about more what was happening. And we started going to church in Memphis, which was a little bit closer for us. So we went to St. John Orthodox Church in Memphis. And then in 1995, I think, or 94, we were received formally into the church at that point. And then while I was still a teenager in high school, I had sort of toyed with the idea of going into ministry. And that got pushed way back to the back burner during college and all the things that I described. So, but then in 2000, we had moved to Southwest Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, and we were going to an OCA church there. And I found myself in going through some struggles and was talking with some people about it, and made an offhand comment that, if I'd done what I was supposed to do, that none of this would be a problem, none of what I was experiencing. And one of the guys I was talking to said, what did you say there? Back up, say that again. And he forced me into basically saying, well, when I was a teenager, I thought I might want to be a minister. And he said, why didn't you? And I couldn't come up with a good reason. So, and it just so happened the Sunday after we had that conversation, they announced in the Indianapolis Diocese Indianapolis Deanery of the Midwest Diocese, they announced a late vocation program. And I participated in that and was ordained a deacon in 2008. And then my wife, I think, thought that would cure my need to be in ministry, but it didn't. And so in the fall of 2010, I enrolled at St. Tikhon's Seminary.
And I think that kind of takes you up into the priesthood eventually, because I think you were still a deacon when you and I met when I was on the Metropolitan Council. This would have been about 2012.
Yep.
And shortly after that. And then you came to our diocese when, Father Marty?
I actually came after I was ordained. So I was ordained just before the start of my 3rd year of seminary in August of 2012. And but then about that time, if we think back about what was happening around that time, that was the time when Metropolitan Jonah, at the time, the Synod decided that the OCA would be better off with different leadership, basically, and Metropolitan Tikhon was elected. Now, at the time, I was in Eastern Pennsylvania. He was the Archbishop of Eastern Pennsylvania, and I really had every intention of staying in Eastern Pennsylvania. We had already been told by a previous bishop of the Midwest that he had no place for seminarians. So all 5 of us, about halfway through our seminary career at St. Tikhon's, exactly halfway through, in fact, were told, well, you're kind of on your own. And so again, an issue of faith, this is God's leading. This is what God wants us to do. And then when when Archbishop Tikhon got elected metropolitan, I was really kind of reconsidering where I was staying. And as well as meeting you, that was when I was the auditor. I was on the audit committee for the OCA.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And in addition to meeting you, I'd also met Father Andrew Yarmus. And I was like, well, I know that he was no longer in the chancery. He was no longer part of the administration, and that he had gone out to a parish. So, and it was in the Bulgarian diocese. So I thought, I'm going to give him a call and see. The bishop of the Midwest at the time, I'd already talked to some people, and I'm probably getting a little bit ahead of myself, but all this happened around the same time. So I was talking with some friends of ours from Ohio who had relocated. He has a doctorate in engineering, and he had relocated to Ames, Iowa, to Iowa State University. And so I was like, if you were to get a priest, what difference would that make? And they all thought that would be, well, the word they used was game changer for them, you know. Because they have been trying to start a mission, but we're not getting very much encouragement from the Diocese of the Midwest. And so I contacted Father Andrew and said, would you be interested in having me as part of the diocese? And would you be interested in starting a mission? This was, I think, the first year that Archbishop Alexander was in the diocese, enthroned in the diocese as the bishop. And his first reaction was one of real caution. He was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know we want missions because I don't want to preside over just this dead, ungrowing church.
Sure.
I want missions to enliven the diocese, but I'm not sure about this particular place. But he said, I tell you what, I'll go see. I'll go visit with them. And he did that. And after that visit, he said, yeah, I think this is a good idea. I think God is in this. And so at that point, then I petitioned. Of course, when you're at seminary, you're under the Metropolitan. And I petitioned the Metropolitan to be transferred to the Bulgarian diocese upon graduation. And Archbishop Alexander agreed to transfer me and to then assign me to start up the mission here in Ames, Iowa.